The sky above planet Sayira was dark purple. 2 suns were hiding behind thick clouds. The land was quiet, almost too quiet. Human soldier Jack Carter walked slowly with his team through a strange alien forest. The trees here were tall, glowing, and humming softly. The wind felt alive, like it was watching them. Jack was young, brave, and sometimes too curious. This was his first mission outside Earth. He wasn't afraid. He liked exploring new places. But today, something felt different. The air was heavy. His chest felt tight. Still, he smiled and said to his friend over the comms, "Let's just find the outpost and go home. I'm not dying in some glowing jungle." Suddenly, a loud sound echoed through the trees. Thud, thud, thud. The ground shook. Jack stopped. His teammates froze too. From the shadows, figures appeared. Taint. They weren't human. They were tall alien warriors, their armor shining like silver, eyes glowing blue. At the center stood a woman. She was taller than the rest, wearing black armor with gold marks. Her long silver hair moved like it was floating. Her face was beautiful, but strong and cold. She looked like a queen. Jack couldn't help but stare. Without thinking, he stepped forward and said with a playful grin, "Hey, beauty queen." The forest went silent. The alien woman's eyes narrowed. She took one slow step toward him. "Watch your mouth, human," she said sharply. Her voice was calm, but full of warning. Jack felt his heart race. His smile disappeared. He realized he had made a big mistake. "I didn't mean," he tried to explain, but it was too late. The Zarian guards raised their weapons. Jack's teammates aimed back. Tension filled the air like a storm ready to explode. Then the alien woman raised her hand. Everyone froze. "No one dies today," she said. "This one comes with me." Her guards stepped forward and grabbed Jack's arms. He didn't fight back. He was too shocked to move. "Wait, I didn't do anything wrong," he shouted. She turned to look at him, her eyes glowing. "You insulted a royal warrior of the Zarian Empire. That is wrong." Jack's heart pounded. "Who are you?" he asked. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. "I am Valera, daughter of Queen Zarya. And you will learn respect." The Zarians dragged Jack away. His team tried to follow, but the alien guards blocked their path. They had no choice but to watch him disappear into the trees. Hours passed. Jack was taken to a giant alien city hidden deep inside the mountains. The buildings were tall and sharp, made of crystal and black stone. Everything glowed. It didn't look like anything he had ever seen. Valera walked in front of him. She didn't say a word, but every time she looked at him, he felt like she could read his mind. They reached a tower with a glowing door. Inside, Jack was thrown into a bright, empty room with metal walls. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. Valera stood at the doorway. "You spoke without respect. In my world, that has a price." "But I didn't mean to insult you," Jack said. "It was just a joke." She looked at him silently. Then she spoke in a low voice. "Words can start wars, human. And sometimes a joke can kill a planet." Jack sat down, tired and confused. "So what happens now?" Valera stepped closer. "You are not a prisoner. Not yet. You will go through 3 trials. If you pass, you earn your freedom. If you fail, then I decide your fate." Jack looked into her eyes. "Are you doing this because you're angry?" Valera paused. "No, I'm doing this because I'm curious. You are not like other humans, and I want to know why." Then she turned and left, the door closing behind her with a soft hiss. Alone in the room, Jack lay back and stared at the ceiling. His heart was still racing. "What did I get myself into?" he whispered. He thought about her eyes, the way she spoke, the strange feeling inside him. He had come to Zara as a soldier, okay, Now, he was something else. A puzzle, a challenge, maybe even a threat. But deep down, something told him this was only the beginning. The sun on planet Sciera slowly rose over the crystal mountains. Its golden light touched the alien city where Jack Carter, the human soldier, was being held. The city looked beautiful from outside, but inside, Jack felt like he was in a cage. He had slept little. His body was tired, but his mind was racing. Why did Valera, the alien princess, bring him here? Why did she stop her guards from killing him? What were the 3 trials she spoke about? Suddenly, the door opened with a soft hiss. Tall guards entered. "Follow," one of them said in a deep voice. Jack stood up. His heart was beating fast. He didn't know where they were taking him, but he knew it wasn't going to be fun. The guards led him through shiny black halls, past strange statues and glowing plants. The air smelled sweet but heavy. Every step echoed. Jack looked around, trying to remember paths. He didn't want to be lost if he had to run someday. Finally, they reached a large chamber. The floor was silver. The walls were covered with carvings of battles and warriors. At the end of the room sat a tall woman on a glowing throne. She was Queen Zaria, Valera's mother. Her eyes were sharp. Her crown was made of light. She didn't look angry. She looked cold, like ice. "Human," she said. "You speak to royalty now. Choose your words wisely." Jack stood still. "I didn't mean to disrespect your daughter." "But you did," the queen replied. "And in Zarian law, disrespect brings punishment. Death is one option. Has chosen another path." Valera stepped forward. She stood beside the queen, calm and proud. "I will test him," Valera said. 3 trials. If he passes, he earns our respect. If not, I finish what others began." Jack swallowed hard. "And what if I pass all 3? The queen raised an eyebrow. "Then, perhaps you are not like the rest of your kind." The guards took Jack again and led him to a training area. The ground here was made of black stone. Strange machines floated in the air. Other aliens watched from the edges, curious. Valera stood across from him. "This is the first trial," she said. "You must fight without weapons. You must survive against one of our warriors for 3 minutes." Jack laughed nervously. "Survive for 3 minutes. That's it." Valera's eyes narrowed. "You will see." She raised her hand, and a large alien stepped forward. The warrior was huge, with thick armor and glowing red eyes. His fists looked like hammers. The bell rang. The trial had begun. The warrior charged at Jack. Jack rolled to the side, just in time. A loud boom shook the ground where he had just been. He jumped up and backed away, trying to catch his breath. "I'm not trained for this," Jack shouted. "No one is," Valera replied. Jack dodged again. He moved fast, using his small size as an advantage. He ducked under the alien's arm, kicked the back of his knee, and ran again. 2 minutes passed. Sweat poured down Jack's face. His legs were shaking. His heart felt like it would explode. But he kept moving. The crowd grew louder. Some aliens began to cheer. They had never seen a human fight like this. With just 10 seconds left, the warrior swung hard. Jack tripped and fell. The alien raised his fist to end it. Then, ding, the bell rang. Time was up. The warrior stopped. Jack lay on the ground, gasping, but smiling. "I did it," he whispered. Valera stepped forward. Her face was unreadable. "You survived," she said. Jack sat up. "Huh, that means I passed." She nodded slowly. "Yes, but the next trial will be harder." Later, Jack sat alone in a small chamber. His body ached, but his heart felt stronger. He had faced death and lived. Valera entered the room. Jack stood up. "Why did you save me back there? You could have let him finish me." Valera looked at him for a long time, and she said, "Because you fought with heart. You didn't give up. That is rare, even among my people." And Jack tilted his head. "So, you don't hate me anymore?" Valera stepped closer. Her voice was soft now. "I don't know yet, but you are different. I can feel it." Smiled. "A little thanks, I guess." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Rest well, Jack Carter. Tomorrow is the trial of mind. It will not be about strength, but about truth." She left the room, and the door closed behind her. Jack sat back down. His muscles hurt, but his spirit was awake. He had faced the first test and survived. But what did Valera mean by trial of mind? What truth was she talking about? He looked up at the ceiling, thinking of Earth, of home, and of Valera's glowing eyes. This punishment wasn't just about trials. It was something more. A challenge from fate itself, and he wasn't ready to quit. Not yet. The second day began with dark clouds covering the alien sky. Strange heat filled the air. It was not from the sun, but from something deeper, something dangerous. Jack Carter stood at the edge of a wide black pit in the middle of the city. Lava bubbled far below. Flames danced on stone pillars rising from the pit. This was not just a place, it was a warning. Valera stood beside him, calm and powerful as ever. "This is the trial of fire," she said. "It will test your spirit, not your strength." Jack looked down into the fire. "I survived a giant alien trying to smash me yesterday. Now I walk through lava." Valera's face remained serious. "Not just walk. You must rescue someone." "Rescue?" Jack blinked. She nodded. "There is a prisoner inside the fire tunnels. He is one of ours, a traitor to the crown. Bring him back alive, and you pass." Jack frowned. "So, he betrayed you. Why save him?" Valera's voice was quiet. "Because loyalty means nothing without mercy. This trial is not just about survival. It's about trust." Before Jack could reply, a platform rose from the ground. He stepped on it. The floor shook and slowly lowered him into the fire tunnels. The heat hit him like a wall. Sweat rolled down his face within seconds. The stone walls around him glowed orange. The path was narrow and cracked. Every step was dangerous. A robotic voice echoed from a speaker somewhere above. "Trial begins. Time, 10 minutes. Failure 2. Complete will result in termination." Jack gulped. A taupe, no pressure. He moved quickly through the tunnels, careful not to step on weak spots. Flames shot out from the walls. Lava dripped from the ceiling like rain. His shirt was already soaked, and his eyes burned. Suddenly, he heard a voice, weak, coughing. "Help. Over here." Jack turned a corner and found a wounded alien chained to the wall. His skin was burned, and his armor was broken. Jack ran forward. "Are you the prisoner?" The alien nodded slowly. "Yes, I am, Serene." Jack looked at the chains. They were sealed with glowing red locks. "There's no key," Jack muttered. "How do I break these?" Serene looked at him with pain in his eyes. "You can't break them, not alone." Jack looked around and saw a lever on the other side of a small lava stream. The bridge to it was thin and shaking. He had no time to think. He jumped across carefully and pulled the lever. The chains clicked and dropped. Carin collapsed forward. Jack ran back and caught him. "Come on, we're getting out of here." Zarin looked up. "Why are you helping me? I betrayed the Empire. Your reward is escape, not kindness." Jack shook his head. "Maybe, but I don't leave people behind." Zarin stared at him, confused. "You are not like the others." "No," Jack replied. "I'm human." With Zarin's arm over his shoulder, Jack started walking back. The tunnels were hotter now. The floor cracked beneath them. One wrong step and they would fall into the lava below. Suddenly, A loud explosion shook the tunnel. The exit collapsed in flames. Jack looked around. We're trapped, Zarian pointed. How's another path? A secret one. Totally, I know. Jack looked at him, breathing hard. Then lead the way. Zarian hesitated. How do you know I won't lead you to death? Jack smiled tiredly. Because I trusted you once. I'll do it again. Zarian's eyes filled with emotion. No one has ever trusted me like this. Together, they took this secret path. It was narrow and dark, with sharp rocks and fire traps. But after what felt like hours, they saw light. The exit. Jack and Zarian stepped out of the tunnel. The crowd outside gasped in shock. No one had expected Jack to come out alive, especially not with the traitor. Valera stepped forward. Her eyes moved from Jack to Zarian. You brought him back, even though he betrayed us. Jack nodded. 'Cause mercy is stronger than hate. Valera said nothing for a moment. Then she spoke. Zarian, you were given a second chance. Not by your people, but by someone who had every reason to leave you behind. Zarian bowed his head. I was wrong about humans. About everything. The queen, watching from a high tower, stood slowly. Her voice echoed across the city. Jack Carter, you have passed the trial of fire. You showed courage, and more than that, you showed heart. The crowd remained silent. But Valera stepped closer to Jack. You are changing the way my people see your kind, she said softly. And the way I see you. Jack smiled. Does that mean I can go home now? Valera looked at him for a long moment. No, she said. It means you're ready for the next truth. That night, Jack sat outside in the alien gardens. The sky above was full of stars. He looked at his hands, still burned from the fire. He had come to Zaire as a soldier. But now, something else was growing. Respect, friendship, maybe something even deeper. But one question remained. If he could change the heart of an alien traitor, could he change the heart of a princess? The next morning, the sky over Zaire was clear. The two suns slowly rose, bathing the alien city in golden light. But inside the palace, shadows still lived. Jack Carter stood in a royal library. The room was large and filled with floating books, glowing scrolls, and ancient paintings. He had been allowed to rest after the second trial. And now Valera had brought him here. She stood silently beside him, watching as he walked slowly around the room. Jack stopped in front of a giant wall painting. It showed a young Zarian girl, her long silver hair, her soft smile. She looked happy, holding the hand of a human man. Jack stared at it. Is that you? Valera looked up at the painting. Her face changed. The cold warrior disappeared for a moment. Her eyes softened. Yes, she said. That was me. A long time ago. Jack pointed to the human in the painting, and him. Valera took a deep breath. His name was Captain Elias Rowe. He was the first human I ever trusted. Jack turned toward her, surprised. He was a soldier. She nodded. He saved me during a battle when I was just a child. My transport was attacked by enemies. My guards were killed. I would have died, but he found me, protected me, carried me to safety. Jack frowned. While humans and Zarians were enemies back then. Valera gave a sad smile. Guess that's what made it so strange. He didn't have to help me. But he did. Jack sat down on a stone bench. What happened to him? Valera looked away. The Empire learned of our friendship. They called it weakness, a betrayal. One night, he was taken. I never saw him again. Silence filled the room. Jack felt a deep pain in her voice, something she had buried for a long time. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Valera walked slowly around the room, her fingers brushing over old scrolls. After he vanished, she said, I swore I would never trust a human again. I trained harder, became a warrior, built a wall around my heart. Jack looked at her, and now she met his eyes. Now, you confuse me. He smiled slightly. That's fair. I confused myself too. Valera stepped closer. You don't act like others. You risked your life to save Serene. You didn't run during the first trial. You speak with respect, even when you joke. Jack laughed a little about that first joke. I didn't know you were royalty. If I'd known, I might have said something even worse. Valera raised an eyebrow, then smiled. A real smile. The first one Jack had seen. It was like sunlight. In the cold, later that day, Valera took Jack to the outer gardens. The sky was blue. Strange birds flew above. The trees sparkled with golden leaves. But it wasn't the beauty of the garden that surprised Jack, it was Valera. She walked with him slowly, without guards. She was relaxed, almost peaceful. Why did you bring me here? Key said cast. I wanted you to see something, Valera replied. She stopped near a quiet pond. The water was still like glass. In its reflection, Jack saw something strange. The water didn't show his face. It showed his memories. His first day as a soldier. His mother's hug. Sphere in the fire trial. What is this? He whispered. Mirror of truth, Valera said. It shows the soul. Jack turned toward her. Why show me this? 'Cause I want to understand you, she said softly. Not just your words, but your heart. Jack sat down near the pond. And what do you see? Valera sat beside him. See someone honest, brave, a little foolish, but kind. I haven't seen that in a long time. For a moment, the world was quiet. The alien princess and the human soldier, sitting side by side, not as enemies, but something more. As the sun began to set, a soft alarm echoed through the city. Valera stood up, her face tense again. What's that? Jack asked. Something's wrong, she said. A warning from the sky towers. Just then, a guard ran into the garden. Princess. The border sensors have been disabled. Hidden force is approaching. Valera's eyes turned cold again. Who? We don't know, but they're close. Jack stood up quickly. Is this part of the trial? Valera shook her head. No, this is real. Jack's heart beat faster. What should we do? Valera looked at him. Really looked. You can run, hide. No one will stop you. Jack stared at her for a moment. Then he stepped forward. I'm not going anywhere. If someone's coming to hurt you, they'll have to go through me first. Okay. Valera's eyes widened slightly. Then she nodded. Very well. Think fight beside me, Jack Carter. In that moment, everything changed. Not just between two people, but between two worlds. The night sky over Zaire turned red. Bright lights flashed on the horizon. Explosions echoed through the air. For the first time in many years, the walls of the royal city shook with fear. Inside the palace, alarms screamed. Guards ran through glowing halls. Something terrible was coming. Valera stood at the top of the tower, her silver hair blowing in the wind. Her glowing eyes scanned the dark sky. Jack stood beside her, holding a Zairian energy weapon, unsure how to use it, but ready to fight. They've shut down our border defenses, Valera said calmly. That means they had help from inside. Frowned. A traitor. She nodded. Or worse, a hidden enemy we never saw coming. Far in the distance, dark ships floated above the land. They were not Zarian, and not human either. They looked like black knives in the sky. Jack stepped closer. Who are they? Valera spoke one word. The Drakon. Jack had heard the name in war reports. A silent race. No mercy, no warning. They baited planets like shadows, leaving nothing behind. Why are they here? He asked. Valera looked at him. They don't want land. They want power. And they know, okay? I'm next in line to the throne. Jack's eyes narrowed. So, they're here to kill you, Valera said, and I won't let that happen. The palace walls shook again. This time, much closer. Valera turned to her guards. Evacuate the council. Protect the queen. And you, princess. One asked. She looked at Jack. We defend the gate. Together. Jack followed her through a glowing hallway. Noise outside grew louder. Smoke filled the air. They reached the outer gate, tall crystal doors, now shaking under heavy attack. Suddenly, the gates exploded inward. Dark figures rushed in, tall, thin, and wearing black armor. Their eyes glowed red. They made no sound, no screams, no orders, only cold movement and death. Valera didn't wait. She jumped forward with her energy sword, slicing through the first Dracon soldier. Jack followed, firing the alien weapon in his hands. Blue blasts shot from it, hitting their enemies hard. More Dracon came. Jack ducked and rolled behind a broken wall. Valera moved like lightning, her blade dancing in the dark. But there were too many. We can't hold them all, Jack shouted. Valera pulled him back behind cover. We fall back to the heart chamber. They ran through burning halls. Guards fought and died around them. The palace was no longer a place of peace. It had become a battlefield. Inside the heart chamber, strange crystals pulsed with light. Valera touched one, and a shield formed around the room. This place is old, she said. It holds the life of the city. Jack looked around. So, if they destroy this, everything dies, she answered. Jack took a deep breath. Then we don't let them. Valera looked at him closely. You could still run, hide. No one would blame you. Jack shook his head. I already told you. I don't leave people behind. She stared at him for a long moment. Okay. Then she said softly, Elias Rowe once said those same words. Jack smiled. Guess he trained good people. Valera turned away quickly. But Jack saw something in her eyes, something soft, almost afraid. Not of death, but of losing someone. Again, the Dracon broke through the outer shield. The final fight began. Jack and Valera stood back to back, firing, slicing, kicking. Sweat poured down Jack's face. His hands were shaking, but he didn't stop. One Dracon grabbed Valera's arm and tried to stab her. Jack tackled it and pushed it into the fire crystal. The explosion threw him across the room. He hit the wall hard. Everything went black for a moment. When his vision returned, Valera was holding him. Jack, stay with me. He smiled weakly. Still here, princess. She helped him up. Hey, can't let them take this room. Jack nodded. Then let's make our last stand count. Just when it seemed they would fall, a loud sound echoed across the sky, a deep hum like thunder. Zarian warships arrived. The Queen had sent the royal fleet. The Dracon, seeing reinforcements, began to retreat. One by one, they vanished into smoke and shadows. Silence returned. The battle was over. Hours later, the fires were out. The city was saved. But many were lost. Jack sat on the palace steps, covered in dust and cuts. Valera sat beside him, her armor cracked, her sword resting against her leg. She looked at him quietly. You should not have survived tonight. Jack smiled. Yeah, I get that a lot. Valera shook her head. No human has ever stood where you did, or fought like you fought. But Jack looked at her, serious now. I didn't fight for your city. I fought for you. She blinked, slowly. Why? Because, he said softly, I see who you really are. She stared at him for a long time. Then, she touched his hand, not as a leader, not as a warrior, but as a person. And for the first time since the attack, the Empire was truly silent. The alien forest was dark. Tall, glowing trees stood silently, their leaves shining faint blue under the night sky. Strange insects buzzed in the distance. Every sound felt louder in the silence. Somewhere far behind them, the Zarian city still burned. Valera walked slowly, her steps careful. Her arm was bleeding. Her armor was broken. Behind her, Jack followed, limping, his shoulder bandaged with torn cloth. They had escaped the palace after the second wave of the Dracon attack. The enemy was not fully gone, and someone from inside the Empire had betrayed them. They could not trust anyone. They had to hide. They stopped near a small, glowing lake. Steam rose from its warm surface. Large rocks surrounded it, making a perfect place to rest. Valera sat down on one of the rocks, breathing hard. "We're far enough. They won't find us tonight." Jack dropped beside her. "That's good, 'cause I don't think I can walk another step." She looked at his bandage. "You need real healing." He smiled. "I need pizza, but healing." "Sounds nice too." For a moment, Valera laughed, a soft, quick laugh. Jack looked at her in surprise. "That's the first time I've heard you laugh," he said. She looked away. "I don't laugh often." "You should," Jack said. "It suits you." Valera didn't answer, but her expression softened. The night grew colder. Jack started a small fire using alien plants and a heat stone Valera gave him. A orange light danced across her face, making her silver hair glow like starlight. Jack stared into the fire. "Do you think your mother survived the second attack?" Valera nodded. "Yes, she is stronger than she looks." "Stronger than you?" he asked. Valera smiled slightly. "Not quite." They both laughed quietly. Then silence returned, but it wasn't awkward. It was calm, peaceful, safe. Ve. Lyra broke the silence. "When I was a child," she said, "I used to dream of flying away. Not with the ship, just escaping the weight of the throne of duty, of always being strong." Jack listened, watching her closely. "You don't have to be strong all the time," he said. She looked at him. "Yes, I do. My people expect it. My mother demands it. If I show weakness—" Jack interrupted. "Then show it to me. Just once. I won't judge." She stared at him, her eyes full of emotion. "Why do you care so much?" "Because I see you," he said quietly. "Not just a warrior, not just a princess. See, the person underneath." Valera blinked slowly. Her guard, usually so high, seemed to lower just a little. She stood up and walked to the edge of the lake. The light reflected on the water, making her glow like a goddess. Jack followed her. "You?" "No," he said. "Back home, people would never believe this. A human soldier and an alien princess standing by a glowing lake after fighting monsters in a burning city." Valera turned to him. "And what would you tell them?" Jack smiled. "That I met someone who changed everything." "Okay." Long silence passed between them. Valera stepped closer. "Humans and Zarians aren't meant to be close. It is forbidden." Jack looked into her eyes. "Then let's break one rule." And in that moment, he leaned in. Valera didn't stop him. Their lips touched softly, briefly, but filled with a power neither had ever felt before. It was more than just a kiss. It was a bond, a promise, a choice. Valera stepped back slowly. "If they find out," Jack nodded, "then we fight." She smiled sadly. "Always ready for a fight, aren't you?" "Only when it's for the right person." They sat together again near the fire. Valera rested her head on his shoulder. Jack gently placed his hand over hers. The forest watched in silence. Two souls, once enemies, now something else, something beautiful, something dangerous. As dawn approached, a strange noise broke the peace. Valera stood up quickly, her hand on her weapon. From the trees, a small Zarian scout drone appeared. It hovered above them, blinking red. Valera cursed. "They've found us." Jack grabbed his weapon. "What do we do?" She looked at him, her face calm. "We run. Again. Jack looked at her. Together. She nodded. Together. They'd disappeared. Into the forest, to rebels of war and fate fighting, not just for survival, but for something even more powerful, love. The jungle trees shook with sound. Valera and Jack ran through thick, glowing plants. Behind them, the scout drone was gone, but they both knew it had already sent a message. Their enemies were coming. Jack breathed hard. His legs still hurt, but he didn't slow down. Valera moved like wind, silent but strong. They had escaped the palace, survived the jungle, and shared something powerful, something forbidden. Now, they were running toward the end. They reached an old ruin deep in the forest. Ancient stone towers stood broken. This place once belonged to Valera's ancestors, long before the Empire. "This is where we make our stand," she said. Jack looked around. "Just the two of us." Valera nodded. "Sometimes, two hearts are stronger than an army." Jack smiled. "Let's make them regret finding us." They spent the next hour setting traps and blocking entrances. Valera activated old Zarian crystals buried in the ruins. Blue energy shields came alive. Jack checked his weapon. "How long do we have?" Valera looked up at the sky. "Not long. Tal arrived before sunset." Jack sat beside her. "Do you think we can win?" She didn't answer at first. "Okay." Then she said, "We may not win the battle, but we will win the truth." Jack looked at her, confused. "What truth?" Oh. She turned to him. "That humans and Zarians are not enemies. That love can exist beyond rules. That one small bond can change everything." He stared at her with soft eyes. "Then, let's show them." As the sun began to set, the sound of ships echoed in the sky. Black shadows filled the clouds. Draken dropships landed near the ruins. Soldiers in dark armor stepped out cold, silent. Deadly Valera stood on the highest step of the ruins, her sword glowing in her hand. Jack stood beside her, holding his blaster. "Princess Valera," shouted a deep voice. It came from a Drakon. "Commander, surrender. The Empire has fallen. You have no army, no throne." Valera raised her voice. "You're wrong. I have something stronger than an army." The Drakon laughed. "What? That human beside you?" She looked at Jack, her voice full of power. "No, I have a reason to fight." Then the battle began. The Drakon rushed forward. Blasters fired. Explosions rocked the ruins. Valera moved like lightning, slicing through enemies with her energy blade. Jack fired from behind walls, hitting soldiers with perfect aim. But there were too many. Jack was hit in the shoulder and fell back. Valera screamed. "Jack!" He got up, bleeding but alive. "I'm okay. Keep fighting." They stood back to back, just like they had in the palace. Their hearts beat as one. Their eyes showed no fear. Then everything went still. A final dropship arrived. From it stepped a tall figure in golden-armored General Threx, the Drakon leader. Valera's eyes narrowed. "He was once part of my mother's council," she whispered. "I traitor." General Threx walked forward slowly. "Enough of this. In this madness, Valera. You were born to rule, not die beside a human." Valera shouted. "I would rather die with truth than live in a lie." Threx raised his arm. "Then die, Aaliyah." But Jack jumped in front of Valera. The energy blast hit him directly. Jack fell to the ground. Valera screamed. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever. Something inside her snapped. She rushed at Threx. They fought with blade and fire, light and shadow. Valera didn't hold back. She remembered everything her father's teachings, her mother's strength, Eli's rose, kindness, and Jack's final sacrifice. With one strike, she drove her sword through Threx's chest. He collapsed. The Drakon stopped, silent, frozen. Then they dropped their weapons. The battle was over. Valera ran to Jack, who was lying still, eyes closed. She held him in her arms. "Don't leave me," she whispered. "Please." Jack opened his eyes slowly. "Still here." She smiled through tears. "You fool. You almost died." He coughed, then chuckled. "Almost," skewed his face. "You changed me, Jack." "Carter." He touched her cheek weakly. "You saved me. It's in every way." Hours later, Syrian ships arrived. Queen Zarya had survived. She stepped out, shocked by what she saw her daughter, holding a wounded human, surrounded by defeated enemies. Valera stood and faced her mother. "I will no longer live by rules that kill love," she said. "The future begins with truth and him." The queen looked at Jack, then at Valera, and for the first time in Zarian history, she bowed her head. Weeks passed. The war ended. Peace talks began between humans and Zarians. Valera took the throne, but changed many old laws. Beside her, as her protector, advisor, and heart stood Jack Carter, the soldier who made the empire silent and made it feel again.